Happy Wednesday, Unwoke Nation. I want to welcome you to episode 5 of the Unwoke Show, where free speech is welcome, all subjects are on the table, and your boys get raw and uncut every week for your enjoyment, baby. I'm your co-host, Rich, along with my buddy over here, Tim. Big Tim, how you doing, man?
Good evening, buddy.
Awesome. Hey, guys, we want to thank you for listening to the show. We see more people are listening out there. We definitely appreciate it. If you guys like what you hear, definitely make sure to subscribe to our station or let people know more about us and all. You can actually go see us on Twitter for Unwoke the Show. And also, we'd love to hear your feedback. We're at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. That's feedback@unwoketheshow.com. We love to hear from you guys and all. And maybe sometime we actually might have some of you guys on the show. We'd love to be able to hear your opinion. Things you like about it that we said, great. Things you don't like, doesn't matter. We'd love to have you on the show. This is a show for everybody, and also we're not going left, right, or anything. We'll keep right there in the center. We just love to hear from you guys. So
we may go wrong, but that's okay.
That's all right. Just two boys so just getting together, sharing some thoughts about some social stuff, and going on from there. So, all right, guys. But again, thanks again for being a part of the show. So, we just got done. We were talking a little bit prior to the show coming up. We're here on episode 5 about just kind of the new things, and we've been hearing a lot of stuff that's been going on this last couple weeks and everything. So, and obviously, many of you guys have been hearing about it on the news and on Twitter, social media, and stuff like that. Is this whole thing going in regards to the transgender situation going on? I know Tim has been doing a little bit of research and all. He's definitely our research guy here on the show. So, he finds some really good stuff, and also you guys are always be informed and educated. So with all this. So yeah, we're gonna be getting into that subject about this whole thing dealing with transgender things, dealing with sports just in general, and also, and again, guys, we'd love to hear from you as well. So Tim, what's your thoughts on this and getting into the topic?
So it's kind of funny you bring this up because I hadn't paid attention to this, heard about this until you mentioned it, and it's kind of eye-opening. It's kind of sad at the same time, in my opinion, on some of this. Just when we were talking off air before we got on here, when we were growing up as kids, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, girl, boy, right? There was nothing. You didn't have this notion or this thought or this idea of trans, and I was like, okay, this is something. Huh? Yeah, exactly. I look at guys and girls as guys and girls, and you're probably saying to yourself, okay, what does that mean? When I see a girl,
certain biological,
boobs, vagina, there you go.
Yep.
Dude stands up to pee in the urinal, or sits down, has a dick, that's a dude.
Yep.
This notion that you can identify yourself as a woman but still have your dick,
right,
and participate in sports, in not only sports but female sports.
Yeah, which I think is more definitely the topic of anything.
And so Rich, like I said, as you had brought this up, you had mentioned Leah Thomas, for example.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm pulling up. I'm looking at an article here from the New York Times back in May of 2022, and it talks about Leah Thompson identifying as a transgender woman, but yet no change, not going through the change. It's just my identity as a transgender woman. And you had quoted his statistics of where he was at as a male swimmer.
Yes.
From a ranking perspective, in the high 2s.
Yeah. So apparently, according in swimming, so probably the same thing they do have in track and different things like that. That you have individual swimmers are actually ranked to where from 1 straight on down, and apparently, according to this Leah Thomas, when as a male, was around the 260s of ranked in the entire nation. And apparently, once deciding to make that transition to a woman, he went from 260 something as a male to being the number one female swimmer in the country.
Yeah, see, that's so does he suck at male swimming, and that's why he switched to saying I'm a woman, therefore I'm gonna
I
participate in female swimming and better. I mean, I don't. I feel like the everything boils down to at this day and age to your identity and biological sex. I mean, you're a guy.
right,
You know, you may feel like on the inside you're a woman and stuff, but physically you're a guy.
right, yeah,
Are you telling me that that feeling that you have on the inside is so profound that I just have to go compete in female sports versus male sports
hmm
to, I don't know, feel like a sense of success, feel like you're worse on, I don't know. It's I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around you came into this world, you're in the hospital, sex female, you're identified by the people as female,
hmm
but yet you want to either you're going to go the other way and participate in a male sport saying I'm a male even though you have all the female characteristics, or in this example Leah Thompson for all intents and purposes is a guy but says I identify more with the women, therefore I should participate in women's sports.
yeah. This is a situation where I work with a lot of ladies who are either current or former athletes, and they've brought this. I've asked them their honest opinion about it, and looking at what situations have gone on regarding this, and a lot of what I've been hearing, where it's just not only just confusion, but it's also been just kind of, some people have actually said to me, insulting. I actually was listening to the situation going on. As some of you guys might know it, Riley Gaines. Riley Gaines is a former swimmer for the University of Kentucky who happened to compete against Leah Thomas. And for those of you guys who might not know, across the world, there was a situation where I think this really came. It was already a national news story, but I think it became more of a national news story once the NCAA was holding their swimming national championships, and Leah Thomas and Riley Gaines were actually in the final for that particular race. And what maybe some of you guys don't know, or if you haven't heard it, is that apparently both Leah Thomas and Riley Gaines had actually tied in when it came to time, where they actually tied for first place. But the way it's been explained by Mrs. Gaines, who is a biological female, and also she was told that when it came to them standing on the podium, that they were going to give the award to Leah Thomas and actually mail her award, showing that she finished first place. Which turns out she actually had to stand on the second place podium while this is happening. Actually, Tim and I, we just got done seeing a picture of this going on, and it was like, wait, what? It's like, so it's not like it is like 0.0001 something percent that Thomas won. It's just the fact that the question you start asking is this just so we can do some type of social justice move, to show that, the NCAA is woke? Or, I mean, what is that? So that just didn't make any sense at all.
So I guess what sparked this, right? So back in January, the university or Princeton University female swim team um, met with uh, the Ivy League Athletic Conference, the executive director, a Robin Harris, and pretty much just vented out their overarching frustration with watching Leah Thomas beat Olympians and breaking records.
For which, by the way, guys, Leah Thompson is representing the University of Pennsylvania, which is a conference member with Princeton in the Ivy League.
And so, the Princeton University swim team, they described the meeting as highlighting all the biological advantages that Leah Thomas has as a male, and and this is purely from a physiological, biological perspective, right? Muscle fiber being completely different in a male than female, right? At that level, and their collective thought was, to ignore their complaints, goes against a half century of fighting for female equality in sport.
How are you fighting for female equality in sports when there are females actually complaining that there is no equality in their sport?
Well, but I think this is from a transgender perspective.
Oh, here we go. Okay, got it.
Right. So you've got the female swim team saying, hey, we've got this transgender person in here. We're doing our best to fight for our own rights and equality as females in female-driven sports. And now we've got this transgender individual who's a male who is coming over to our and is just beating everybody.
Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is that this isn't just complaints were from the University of Princeton. I mean, I've also heard that there were many complaints from actual teammates of Thomas who said flat out they've had situations where they've been in the locker room and she walked around, so with genitalia out, and obviously
her dick was out. She's walking
basically,
around. Dick is out. In the locker room.
You were literally the big swinging dick.
Yeah,
in the locker room.
Right.
So exactly. And this is just going on, and it's like, okay, and they've had, if I want to understand, his teammates had complained to the athletic director at the University of Pennsylvania, saying like, this isn't something that we want. We feel uncomfortable. It's just not good. And my impression is that they just pretty much ignored the girls. They just ignored them. It's almost like, okay, this is what we have to do, and I mean, it's shocking. It's really, really shocking.
So I guess it's almost become a cultural war, in a sense, in female athletics.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I know you were asking a question earlier in regards to, do you think that this is just all about a trans thing, or is this a thing about trans being in sports? And I think it's more the latter than the former as of right now, just because we're seeing so many situations that are going on, and obviously with the whole thing with Riley Gaines, where basically being attacked at a speech where she was giving for protecting women's sports, where of all cities, the cities being San Francisco, and I mean, they had to escort her in while she was in tears. They had to escort her because the people who were heckling her were calling her names and throwing whatever, all this different stuff, where it was a video that went viral, and it's just really, really shocking where you have somebody who has the courage enough to stand in a city, that's known for promoting, that type of lifestyle or whatever. So, hey, to each his own, Tim and I, hey, we both feel, and we would agree and definitely say it's like, we don't care what you do in your bedroom. That's perfectly fine. But,
right.
We're talking about the topic of there being women's sports should be protected. And so, if it's not just the athletes themselves, it's also dealing with the coaches. Imagine the coaches are out there let's go down to the lowest level of there being high school. You have high school tryouts, and you have, say, for softball, and for some reason, you have Arnold and everything that now wants to be Angela, and he's competing against Patty, who's playing third base. Patty just happens to be a better third baseman for the softball team than, now Arnold, who's now Angela. And all of a sudden, it's like, there's a lawsuit. It's automatically going like, oh, well, you didn't pick her or him, because...
Or it.
Or it. Yeah, exactly. Or it, because, oh, because I'm trans in there, so that's why you didn't pick me. It's like, no, she was a better third baseman at it than you were. And also, so what's the problem? So now you're going to have all these lawsuits nationally, and also that as soon as a trans kid, doesn't get, or go one step further, and also like, oh, you didn't pick me, yeah, I didn't get the job and everything because I was trans in there like that. It's like, fucker, nobody even saw you. It's like, where do you get that from?
Right.
It's
Would you say that there are we're on a collision course of two different principles coming together? The hard, I would say, what we would call the hard right fought for women to compete in high school, college, and pro sports versus a swelling movement to allow transgender athletes to compete in their chosen sport based on gender identity.
I go back
Or
to,
is this just a ridiculous fad? Is this just flat out nonsense?
I heard somebody, another podcaster, say on another show, and he mentioned something to the extent, he says, this isn't transgender, this is trend gender. And that, just dealing with this going on right now, I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. I think it's just a thing of the people the people who are for it, and they want to talk about, they're saying that this is all, people out there are being transphobic. And I think what they need to understand is that people who might be against trans athletes competing in women's sports, they need to clearly understand, and definitely viewers, I want you to let people know if you happen to have discussion with people like that. So people who are against trans being able to compete in women's sports have no issue if they decide to come up saying like, okay, we're going to have a trans division, okay? And so, in other words, if you have boys who are competing, boys and girls where and have that, that's an equal playing field, because just like you had discussed earlier, Tim, it's like, we're dealing with different types of muscle bellies, the amount of oxygen aware so a man can take in comparison to a woman aware in athletic activities and stuff. There's a difference in that. So it can't be one of these things that, well, I still want to compete as a woman like that. No, we can't have feels before reals. The reality is that we're trying to deal with science that shows this is what's going on. So, I know one of the first stories I ever heard was about a girl. I think she was like a top 5 track star in Connecticut. And I think she had finished second or third, I think, the year before, and I guess it was going to be her senior year. And it turns out where this boy, who I guess was a mediocre track star as a boy, decided that he was going to become a girl. And I guess she had found out. And I remember seeing the article. And in fact, guys, I definitely want to start, getting a couple more sound bites and everything, so you guys can hear some of the documentations and audio that we've been hearing from, to be able to play it online, be on air. But basically, the mother said that her daughter came to her, and I'm paraphrasing here, basically saying it's like, Mom, I'm going to be going against the boy. And she was like, yeah, honey, that's why I'm going to go. And she says, Mom, I'm not going to win. Why am I even trying? And the mother said it broke her heart. Because she know how much work the kid was putting into trying to get back to their state championship and everything like that. But the kid knew she had no shot at all. So I saw a situation myself where a couple of videos of people have shown where. So I saw one kid running the 100-meter dash and everything. So, and I think the kid who was the trans boy wanted to become a girl. I mean, I think they were doing like the 100 or 110-meter hurdles, and also, and I mean, I don't think the girls took 4 steps before he was at the first hurdle. I mean, it's like, what are you expecting? It's phenomenal where to think that they want to go ahead and justify that and say that no, so like I think you happen to find some information and everything, so about somebody's response to.
Yeah, so everybody knows who Caitlyn Jenner is. If
Yes.
you don't, then quick recap here. Bruce Jenner, famous Olympic gold athlete, was on the cover of Wheaties. Won the gold in '76, right? I guess for the longest time, Caitlyn was inside, but he either ignored it, suppressed it, or whatever, and then finally, Caitlyn comes out, and now Bruce is now Caitlyn Jenner. Right, that's the quick, dirty Reader's Digest version. So, And if you didn't know, Caitlyn Jenner has been an advocate for protecting women's sports as it relates to transgender athletes participating in women's sports.
Mhm.
So there was, you had mentioned Riley Gaines, and so Caitlyn Jenner had tweeted. This was it was pretty recent, March 14, 2023, and the tweet reads, "Protect women's sports. This person should not be competing with young women/girls. This is beyond unfair." Riley Gaines, who I believe is
University of Kentucky's former University of Kentucky swimmer.
is the you're right, is put this this tweet against what was being said. And Massachusetts girls high school track and field state championship a few weeks ago. Can you guess which is the male? Chloe's message to the girls he beat who protested his inclusion: deal with it, just deal with it.
Wow. Deal with it, just deal with it. I find that very unbelievable, and also I've discussed this with several ladies and kind of gotten their opinion on the whole thing, and you know what, I came up with a radical idea, and actually somebody told me that, but this is just kind of how I feel about it. If there are anybody out there, if you are a parent of a child of a girl who's doing the sports, whether it's track or swim or anything like that, if this is a problem for you, I think the best thing and it's a problem for your daughter, and your daughter's not liking this, and also my statement would be this, and I've put this out on Twitter and everything like that, and I've actually got some pretty good positive feedback about it, and also, but pretty much, and this is just my opinion, this is Rich's opinion, and also it's nobody else's, but my opinion is this: if your kid is going to be competing in track and they're there at the starting line, and you have to compete against somebody because the state is forcing your child to be able to be dominated by a trans male who now becomes a female, it's like, my response would be, don't move.
So let's clarify. When you say transgender, are you saying someone who identifies as a transgender female or has actually gone through the full change?
The former.
Okay, so someone who so another Leah Thomas, basically.
Yes, exactly. That would be my statement, and also that I could be able to say, if your kid is there on the starting line, and it's something where it's to show a true protest of this, don't move.
Okay, so you're saying if you're gonna protest it, don't move.
Yeah.
But what if they decide they still want to?
I mean, to each his own.
To compete, and say, you know what, I think I can beat this. This supposed transgender person.
No, I'm only talking to the people out there who truly believe that this is not fair, who truly care about women's sports, and also because that if you are a person that you really disapprove what's going on, you just don't move. Now, if there's people out there are girls out there who still want to go ahead, when the gun goes off, or whatever case may be, and actually jump into the pool, great. I mean, that's perfectly fine. You have the right to be able to do that. But what I'm talking to is those people out there just say, don't move. It's like, because what's going to happen is, if you have enough of them where they're just, enough of them where they're actually winning the races, and it kind of goes like, wait, none of the girls are competing, something has to be done. Because there's no way on the planet where a situation like that happening dozens and dozens of times across this nation is not going to be noticed. It would have to be noticed. There's no way you're going to have news networks whether they're for that or against it, are not going to report on that. So we have talking heads all over this country that sit there and they talk for hours and hours and hours about a subject. You honestly think if you had dozens and thousands and hundreds of girls who are competing in track and fields like that, all of a sudden don't move, that's not going to grab somebody's attention, even if it's from the local affiliates going straight up the chain towards national cable networks, global cable networks? There's no way that's not going to happen.
All right, so where does discrimination fit in at that point? Is it a protest or is it discrimination against transgender women?
I don't. It's like I think it's
Or
just
transgender. How about that?
no. I just think, like I said, we're talking about specifically the situation of dealing with sports.
Okay.
All right. So, like I said, there's people out there. It's like, if that's what you want to do, that's your own person. I understand that. And also, but if we're talking about the protection of sports,
okay,
then this is something we need to do because for those of you guys who don't know right now, we're in the midst of the 50-year anniversary of Title IX that actually protects women's sports. And right now, you have the NCAA, who's supposed to be upholding this Title IX, and they're not doing it. Obviously, we saw that's true because Leah Thompson is considered the national champion.
Right.
So, with that in mind, it's just it just boggles my mind where when you were saying a statement earlier, how they're saying it's like we're trying to make everything for equality in women's sports. Really? How are you making that equality when the science shows where there's going to be something completely different that's going to happen? So biologically, it just doesn't make any sense. So that would be my thing. Like I said, I'm not speaking for Tim. I'm only speaking for myself. And also, that's what I would say to parents like that, saying like, don't move. You can make a choice to move if you want to. And also, but I think if there's going to be a standpoint, there has to be that. We just got done 2 days ago. So dealing with the situation that was going on. What was it in? Was it in Kentucky or something like that? And all of a sudden, you had hundreds of people going down protesting or so at the state hall and like that. Okay, nobody seems to have a problem with that.
I feel like the bigger issue at this point, I mean, whether you want to protest or whether you want to compete, right? Sure. That's your own business. You do your own thing.
I agree.
But I feel like what gender and biology mean, I feel like it's trying to be rewritten.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You've written down something on a piece of paper and you don't like it, you erase it, and you write it's over and over. Mm-hmm. You're rewriting something.
Right.
I feel like society's lost their mind on what gender and biology when it comes to humans is.
Right. See, and
I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and see, and the thing is that, if it's not just dealing with, okay, I feel like we have other weird things like, like I said, me being black is like that. I mean, you have people out there who are white that says I'm transracial. I might be white, but I recognize myself and see myself more as a black person.
Okay. So heading down that road, those surveys we did
yes.
a couple weeks back.
Yeah, I think, guys, that was like what? Well, I think it was episode 3. I think
right.
We did that. Mm-hmm.
And so one of the surveys I took, it told me that I was mildly white. So if you and I had never met,
mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden we're sitting at a bar, and I said, and you had made something about a comment about the black community, and I said to you, I can identify with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't tell you that I took this survey. Not
mm-hmm.
that this survey all of a sudden validates that I can say that I just joined a much larger community because I'm now part of the black community, right? But if I just said that, what's going to go through your head?
Huh? That's probably what's going to go through my head. Like, I can fully look at you and go like, okay, this is a Caucasian American. It's like, so how is he going to sit there and say, oh, I can totally identify because I identify as a black person being transracial? You're like, what the fuck? it's like, seriously?
Okay. No, but I mean, right, and then if I threw in, I took this survey and it said I'm mildly white.
Oh, so I'm just supposed to go for it?
But people, apparently it's happening today in female sports.
No, but you're right. But you see, that goes back to what I said. It's like, we got all this feels before reels. I sat there and watched, was a couple weeks ago about a girl that made some video and everything who says she is a hawk who's trapped in a human body. So she identifies more as a hawk. I had somebody say the other day, what is it? What is this with this phrase? Have you ever heard that phrase called the furry?
So what?
Yeah. It's like, a furry. What's like people. So
I've heard the term furry, but I'm not sure.
Sounds like some kinky shit.
Yeah.
Right. So, no. So I know of a teacher who said that there were kids, I guess, in her where they started putting down like kitty litter boxes in the bathroom because they recognize themselves as a cat, and they literally know this one person. I'm not making this up, man. It's
I
like,
hope to God you're making this up
no,
right
no,
now.
dude, I got a shirt that says I make stuff up, and I am not wearing it right now.
Oh shit.
It's like,
See, these are the type of people. Just please get on the next rocket ship to Mars, and then just get out halfway there.
right. I mean, and apparently the person had told me where this person goes around wearing little cat ears on their head, and they meow as they go through the hallway.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna.
So you can see
No.
how deep this rabbit hole can go. Where there was another one I heard. Was it somebody says they see themselves as it was like trans handicap or something like that. So they literally cut off their hand were because they recognize themselves more as a handicapped person. Remind you, this person has all of their extremities, but because
Minus of what they just cut off.
yeah, now it's like, but because they see themselves more as a person who has a disability, and I just think that's just so disrespectful.
Dude, that's just fucked up. That's what that
yeah,
is.
that's a whole new level of fucked up. It's like, that they were willing to do that, and it's like, what's wrong with you?
So then, what is your thoughts on the Biden administration wanting to put together a proposal that schools and colleges across the U.S. can't enact outright bans on transgender athletes competing in sports?
I think it'd be the end of it's the end of female sports. That's what I think. I think it's the end of female sports, and also
Because there's the potential to create its own loopholes to discriminate, or you're just saying contradicting Title IX, that would probably be the end of female sports.
yeah, I would say the latter. It would definitely be the end of female sports, where so you're going to find more and more girls, or so that will decide not to compete, or where if they're just those competitive type of athletes where that just they won't pick. It's like, what's the point? So if you're going to have records where owned by on the men's side and owned by men on the men's side and the female side, what's the point? Where do they stand? So why do we even at that point? Why do we even have Title IX? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And so to me, I think this law that the Biden administration wants to put together is another slap in the face. Which, by the way, guys, where if you don't know, the first bill he signed on day 3 of his presidency was a bill similar to this, basically saying that males who are transgender can actually compete in female sports. It literally was the first bill he put together. Look it up.
Well, I mean, okay, to pile on that point, then
Sure.
as we're talking about this, it seems as if males are identifying as women and wanting to play female sports.
Mm-hmm.
But I have yet to find an example of where a female says, I'm a male and I want to go compete in male sports.
Yeah. I have yet to see that myself. I mean,
I see females competing in male sports. You've got, teenage girls that are wanting to compete and play in high school football.
mm-hmm.
Annika Sorenstam.
Yeah.
Played,
she went out there, for the
PGA
Tour.
Sure. In the PGA Tour, played
Sure.
In a male tournament. She didn't make the cut, but she went out there and played. I see that happening, but I don't see women saying, I'm a man, therefore I want to start competing in male sports.
No, I don't think that's.
I'm not saying it doesn't exist.
Right.
I just haven't been able to find anything that,
or at least it hasn't been reported on.
Yeah, reported that says this is in fact the case.
Right. No, I as far as I know, and I'm a big sports watcher as you are, and I have yet to find anything of that sort put out in sports, showing a female who's now becoming a male that's now competing in a male dominated. It just no, I have not seen that at all. And quite honestly, in my opinion, I don't think we're ever going to see it. It's just dumb. It's like it just doesn't make any sense. And also, unless we go through some serious mad science, type stuff. But,
so what is it do you think it is today because I see women who feel like they identify themselves as male, but not in a professional sports aptitude. The lady, the girl that played Juno in the movie, right? She clearly felt it in the end, she was a guy, and she had gotten cosmetic surgery and stuff done to make her, embrace her I would assume masculinity side, and she finally has said, "I feel comfortable in my own skin." Right? Do you think it's something like that? Is it just a fad to fit in, or some dudes just suck at sports and they think they'd be better in girls?
I mean, I definitely believe in the latter and also, but the former, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Regards that. It goes back to what I said before. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. I know there's certain people out there that's what your thing in. It's like I just care a lot about having somebody who's close to me, who who's participating in sports, who coaches sports, and to see the anger, you know, who's a woman. It's like see the anger that they have in what's going on. It's just, I mean, it makes you really really frustrated. And when that person's saying it's like just like I said before, this is going to they feel themselves as a coach of kids saying that I truly believe it's going to be the end of women's sports. It's like it's phenomenal, but the previous I mean that's kind of hard to tell from there.
So if the Purdue center Zach Edey came out and said, "I identify as a woman and I want to play on the Purdue women's basketball team,"
I mean at 7'4",
I'm just saying.
What he's already averaging 24 some points. What does that go to like 52 now? It's like that's
I mean, I'm gonna flat out say no on that.
Yeah,
that's a hard just no. But I mean, and I know that's probably an extreme example, but I don't know that it's that far off from the Thomas example. To be honest with you,
no, it's really not.
I don't know that it's that much of a stretch.
Yeah, it's really really not. I mean, it's still collegiate sports. You're still dealing with somebody who has, physiological competitive advantage. So,
I think Martina Navratilova said it the best. She's a big proponent of liberal and lesbian causes, and she argues that transgender female athletes possess insurmountable biological advantages. And she goes on to say that, okay, you want to characterize me as a TERF. TERF.
What?
Trans exclusionary radical feminist.
Huh? Like what? Like, is there just to ask him? Is there somebody who just sits around all day trying to come up with like new acronyms and words and everything like that? It just seems like there seems like there's like a group of maybe like a group of pill-faced kids or something like that sitting around like, what word could we come up to represent this that we don't like? It's like I'd never heard of that term before, but the fact
I was reading it tonight.
I mean, look at the words. I mean, they had to really think that out.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, that took some major unwrapping some brain cells right there.
But this gets back to the whole sensitive thing that we've been talking about a lot, right?
Overly triggered.
Yeah, overly sensitive, overly triggered. Just all that bullshit,
right?
That goes with it. And I think I love what she says here. She goes, "I played against taller women. I played against stronger women. And I beat them all." I mean, if that's not enough. And she says, but if I face the male equivalent of a Leah in tennis, she'd be pissed. Purely based on the biology factor.
Right.
And I would not disagree with her on that.
My question would be that it's like, what is considered the average speed of a serve in men? And what is the average speed serve for women's professional tennis? I mean, hasn't Djokovic done something like almost like 115, 120 miles per hour on serve?
There was a former tennis player. What was his name? I think it was Malavia Washington. He was a black tennis player.
Yeah.
I mean, he was getting up close to 120.
Oh my gosh.
On a first serve. I mean, it's just flat out insane. But I don't know that either Serena or Venus or any of the other top female tennis players 90s. I don't know. Do they get up to
Maybe.
80s, 90s
Yeah,
on
I'm
a
gonna assume we'd
serve?
have to
But
look it up, but yeah, I mean, I would think it's something, but whatever the number is,
let's
it's gonna be much lower.
let's just say it's 80 or
Yeah.
8. Let's just say it's 80,
Hmm.
and you have a transgender. You have a male that says, "Oh, I identify as a female," going out to play women's tennis and is serving up 105. Is serving up 100, right? Let's just go. We'll just leave it at 100 mile an hour serves.
Hmm.
You can't tell me you wouldn't be pissed if you had to face that. Saying, "No, this is
Yeah.
just physically, just based on the physical female form versus the male form. It would literally be unfair."
Guy gets more aces than the casino.
Yeah, that's true. But so I mean, I think on this topic, Rich, I I'm in the corner of if you identify as a transgender female, you may have that fight internally, but no, stay in your own sport. Get out. If you're a senior in college, get out. Go through the change. Live your life. That's cool as a female or whatever.
Right. Right.
But this whole Leah Thomas horseshit, that's pretty much where I'm at. It's just I think that's ridiculous. I think it's bullshit to go from 200 and something in the world as a male swimmer to beating Olympians and being essentially number one in female swimming.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta call bullshit on that one.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that. It was just, again, it's because I know so many people who are either coaches or players, and just hearing, their dissatisfaction of what's going on, or so it's like, again, like I said, I have no problem if they decide they want to do a special division, and quite honestly, I don't even think it should be considered special. It's just like, hey, you know what? You got 5 athletes that are trans that should be able to compete. It's like, hey, I think that's absolutely wrong, but to get to the point and everything, because everybody wants to be so social justice, i.e., woke or whatever case may be, that you're willing to destroy women's sports and everything that they fought for through Title IX, I think that's absolutely wrong. I think, women deserve to have more respect than that, for.
Oh, they absolutely deserve it.
Yeah, they absolutely deserve it.
There's no disputing that whatsoever.
Right, exactly. It's like, they deserve it. They deserve way more respect than what the NCAA or any other organization where it's giving them. And I just firmly believe, as I said again, where so that I think women who are truly about protecting women in sports need to take a stand for it and stand up and say, it's like, hey, this isn't fair. We know it's not biologically fair, and this needs to stop. And that's where I stand, why I call it bullshit.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because before finding that Martina, was outspoken about transgender female athletes, I couldn't find anybody else that was taking that mantle outside of Caitlyn Jenner saying we need to protect.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, is it females don't want to speak up because they don't want the spotlight or the attention, or what?
Well, it's like what they always say. It's, if you're in a situation and everything where, if you're not going to defend something where, so it's like, you find yourself in a really terrible spot, so because like for me, I was, I thought a little bit earlier in the week when we were thinking about this topic, and I thought to myself, like, if they're talking about trying to do with female rights and stuff like that, I can't think of something that could be even more so dealing with misogyny. Now, here's what I mean by that. It's just because a person is considered a misogynist is a person who actually hates women. We have women out there that are actually trying to say, hey, this is not fair for us. We need to be able to protect her. So, and people are putting women down, so like games, for defending what is considered right. I don't get that. So my question is, like, is this being able to, like you said, this one athlete sat there said, just deal with it, just deal with it. Wouldn't that be considered a way of actually showing some, disrespect towards women?
Yeah, I'd probably say so on a certain level.
I mean, that's just kind of how I thought about it, and like I say, and it isn't right. So that's why I say I call bullshit on it. So.
All right, Unwoke Nation, let us know what you think. Transgender individuals in women's sports today. We'd love to get your feedback. You can reach us at feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Again, we'd love to hear your comments on this topic. Again, it's feedback@unwoketheshow.com. Rich, it was a pleasure as always, man. Look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, guys. Hope you have a great week, and also awesome job, Tim. And also, we'll see you guys next week. And all, thank you for listening in, and we will see you soon. Take care.